Hello, it's Wednesday morning, and it's time to do more stuff with Dyson Dungeons and my 3 square feet of workbench here. Continuing to work on the Savoia S.21. This is the vertical stabilizer and rudder, and I painted it red. This part is red. This part isn't under the tape. You can't see the tape because it's painted red. I keep discovering over and over that using spray paints is extremely wasteful of paint. Okay. That part there is the only part that needed to be painted. And this is all painted and this is all painted. And it's just like, anyway, I think it's just something that has to be done, I guess, in order to get things looking right or right-ish or okay-ish. Without using an airbrush, which is more efficient, or brush painting, which is most efficient in terms of how much paint is actually used compared to the amount of area that needs to be covered. But be that as it may, there's a slight danger I'm going to run out of this red paint before I'm done, and then I'll have to order a whole new can and use like 10% of it. That happened with the Apollo too, is I ran out of the pearlescent white, which is the exterior of the Apollo, and now I've got pretty much a full can of it. Anyway, forbidden word. I apologize for the abrupt and early ending on Monday. Something came up that I needed to attend to, and it needed to be attended to quickly, so I needed to pop up and leave. And then I pushed the wrong button. I noticed that I didn't push the thank you for watching button, so you were looking at who knows what until I got back and ended it correctly. I may end up ending early today too. I don't know. Just to let you know that I'm dog sitting this week, and there are other things going on. Had some medical appointments. I actually have a procedure tomorrow, and if it's just an outpatient thing, and I expect I should be okay, but there is some chance that I might not stream on Friday, or if I do, it will be late. Okay. Just to let you know, it's just an outpatient thing. I'm supposed to be in and out. I'm supposed to be just fine. But if I'm not fine enough to be doing this, then I might not be streaming on Friday. But let's just say I'm planning on it. So check in and see if I am. And if I am, that's great. And I'll be streaming and we can chat. But if I'm not streaming, then you know that I'm not streaming. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting kind of worn out this week, and it's only Wednesday, and the medical procedure hasn't happened yet. Well, there's a bunch of stuff to do today. I did some priming of little bitty pieces, itsy bitsy things, okay, that have to do with the propeller and the spinner. This is yet to be striped. The red part on here is done. Underneath this tape is white. Hopefully it's still white. The edge of this is supposed to be green, and then the bottom is red. So there's a fair amount of masking and painting, several steps yet to finish this. After I take the tape off, assuming everything is okay, I'm going to remove the rudder from the vertical stabilizer. It's just held on with tape and rubber cement, because that's going to be set aside while I then paint the vertical stabilizer, keeping this white and the leading edge striped green. The other thing I learned is that I was concerned about this once I, thought about it a little bit, is that the top of the wing, actually the top of the wing does not have a stripe on it. No, the stripe is only on the bottom. And so the whole painting plan for this has to be changed. Yep, the painting plan will be changed, and the stripe will only be on the bottom. So I'm going to be untaping this, doing some sanding down of the ridge here where the paint was. There's a little bit of a ridge. I'm going to sand that down and reprime the top because this whole thing will be painted red on top. And then on the bottom, I might change the order in which I'm going to end up doing this. What I may end up doing is painting the green stripe first instead of last. The green stripe pretty much goes right here. Okay. If I paint the green stripe first, then I can tape the white and the green just on the bottom and then paint the whole rest of it red, top and bottom. The sort of tricky part is getting the leading yeah. So there's that. Then these need to be taped because the part that's kind of pink right now, it's just primed, needs to be painted red. So I'm going to try to tape over the part that I very nicely painted, the desert yellow, the wood color, so that I can get those done. And then there's a fuselage with the thumbprint that I still haven't gotten the courage to take a look at yet to see if it needs to be like stripped down and redone again or not. I'm not sure. So yeah, I am getting a little tired this week, getting a little worn out. Friday I'll be even more worn out. That'll be a good day to take a look at the fuselage if I stream on Friday. Because I'll already be well, let's do some things. I'm going to unmask this. At least that's the intent, is to somehow get the tape off of this. See what I've got and retape it to paint the green. Tweezers. There's no, the tape was supposed to be very tight on here, which apparently it is. And now it's painted over, so even the seams between pieces of tape that were there before are taped over now. There, I got a piece. That side came out okay. That, hardly see it there. There. This is now, I can now put this. I can now put this in the done box. Let's make sure that take the rubber cement off. Yep. This can go in the done box. The whole point of this was to keep that little spot there white, so that it's white all the way across. And then the green stripe starts right there. The tip of that and down there. But I'm going to put this away now. So one thing hasn't gone bad so far. Am I sounding negative? I am actually being kind of negative. I guess I should apologize for that. I don't mean to be, but things. There is a spot there that needs to be touched up, right at the bottom there. See that has to be red. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Doing the typical spray it in the thing here, get a little brush, touch it up. Almost ready to go on the gun box. Almost. And just use this brush. That's why it's important to always rotate your work in many different directions. Sometimes you find that everything is fine except where it's not. Clean the brush. Piling stuff up. New Year's resolution number 1, keep your work surface clean. Violated during the first 14 minutes of the stream. You might notice there's a little bit of red paint there on the bottom here. That's just fine because that part is actually going to end up being painted red later. Almost spilled alcohol on the already painted parts. That would have been an oops before I even got started. Well, this isn't cleaning very quickly. I found that when I use the spray paint to do touch up, it clings to the brush. It's not the same as the acrylic in a bottle. Wrap this up and move it before I spill it. And I'm going to get the done box because that part is done. This is the done box. The done box includes the very nicely completed interior detail of the model. The fuselage fits over that, but it isn't attached. So you can take the fuselage out. And Porco just keeps slumping over in his chair there. I got the engine compartment completed and the access maintenance hatches. Those are done. The cart that it sits on is done. The hatch that goes over the machine gun loading area is done. The horizontal stabilizer is painted, and now so is the rudder. So there's getting to be things in the done box that are done. I'm going to tape this in preparation for the green painting. It's there. So I've got really narrow tape, and then I have way too wide tape. What's important for the green stripe, okay, is that it is exactly parallel. with this edge. So one way to do that would be to have tape that would be exactly that width, okay, between that edge and that point. And then I could line it up with this edge, and then this line would be lined up with that edge. Unfortunately, I don't have that. The tape I have is either much too narrow or much too wide. I'm going to try to do use the much too wide one and cut it. Carefully cut it down the middle, keeping it as straight as I can. So that in effect I end up with a piece of tape of the correct width. But I found it's really kind of weird, but these little toy scissors actually work better than expensive scissors. So this is the good edge. Well, I was saying a really stupid thing. No, I wasn't saying a really stupid thing. I was saying the right thing. I almost taped the wrong thing. So it's really close to being just right. And then I'm pushing it down here. I'm going to tape right along the bottom of that. A little bit later. Great. There's a speck of dust on the tape. It's coming off, and that's going to create a little divot in the paint. Up to that point, but not over the point. Yeah, the clearances I'm dealing with here are just like invisible. And I'll just be honest about it. They're just going to not even be visible. But there. make sure I'm getting this right. Yeah, okay, that's the part that's green. This is the kind of thing where I would be very, very carefully, very, very carefully taping over the wrong thing. I could just see that happening, can't you? Is that I'd be very, very carefully taping over where it needs to be painted, leaving unpainted, untaped, right? Untaped the part that needs to, well, just getting it backward. Basically, I can just see myself getting it backward. I'm going to use these bits of tape here to tape over just in the back. Why waste the tape, right? There. So this part that's white here is going to be painted green. I need to tape right along the top of the edge there. This is where I can use this little tape. Maybe. Let's see. I have to laugh at my ineptitude this morning. It's just, I mean, it really is. It's just hilariously going stupid. I want it taped. This has to stay white up here. No, this is going to be painted green. But the part down here, this is where you can see the raised part. That's where the horizontal stabilizer attaches along with the elevator. And that has to be painted red right up to that. And so I don't want to paint it green. And later I'll tape across it. Once this is painted green, I'll be putting the tape on the part that's not taped now and taking the tape off the part that is taped. So kind of okay if I got a little bit of green on the part that's going to become red, but I don't want to tape it too far and have white show where I wanted green, because that would be not good. So getting this tape pretty much on there is do. Doing a very good job of narrating this morning either. To do is make sure that the tape is not where it was. I'm just scraping it along here. Yeah, that'll be okay. If I get green onto where the red is supposed to be later, I can take that off. Just scrape it off a little bit. I think that'll do. When I'm done with taping this, you'll get a it's pretty amazing. I bought a whole can of green spray paint for essentially 2, maybe 3 square inches of stuff that's going to be painted green. Just as a, everybody out there, if there's any chance at all, if there's any chance at all that you can learn how to use an airbrush, do it. Definitely, definitely learn how to use an airbrush. You have more selections of colors. You waste less paint. You know, if take the paint out of the bottle to use in your airbrush, you've got it in a bottle. You can just use it for brushing on, hand brushing later. You have lots of options. Otherwise, what you have is a whole collection. Like I've developed now a huge collection of spray cans of some paints. They were just experimental. I'm not sure what color is going to work. So let's get these colors and try them. Because when I first bought the airbrush, I just gave up on it because it was just a disaster. It was one huge mess after the other. So now I have wasted a fair amount of money on, I guess that it's not wasted, but I've spent more money than I would like on spray cans of paint. They're not exactly lined up. Enforcer. Hi, I haven't seen you in a bit. It's going pretty well. Yeah, I need to stretch and hydrate today. So I did discover, well, I apologize again for the abrupt termination on Monday. Something came up. I needed to attend to it. And I just needed to attend to it. So I did. And I pushed the wrong button when I left, and I didn't even sign off correctly. So that was just a little bit messy. Hoping that things go fine today. So far, not too bad. So far, things are going okay. I'm just taping this part that's showing here. Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad the person who's playing the barbarian is doing well enough to be in communication with you. That's good news. That is good news. When you've been okay, you got the Skyworld running. That's also good news. Okay, now over before I forget. So what I did discover, though, as I suspected as I was looking at this on Monday is that, yes, in fact, the stripe is only on the bottom of the wing. I thought it was only on the top of the wing and that I would just extend it to the bottom, but it's only on the bottom. And as a result, I need to rethink how I'm going to do the wing, just in terms of the order in which I paint it. And yeah, and the amount of paint it's going to take. I talked about that ages and ages ago when you first introduced the Sky World. No, you can't. You had a whole you had like a whole ecosystem almost built up around those crystals. I remember you talking about those. Yeah, that's the thing is when you've got these gigantic files. Yeah, you had talked about spending some time just doing nothing but organizing your notes. I guess there's a reason to do that. Is sometimes then you can find things, and then there was the question of how do you organize them, and well, you want to organize them in a way that lets you find things, right? Right. Well, I hope you do because I remember you talking about the crystals. Okay, well, this now, I mean, assuming everything's okay tomorrow, I'm going to put some green paint on that, and then I will have just one more step left, which is to paint the bottom of this red. And then this will go in the done box too, probably on Monday, if everything goes well. So before you came on, I was just explaining I have an outpatient medical procedure tomorrow. But, and they say, well, everything will be just fine. You'll feel perfectly fine. But sometimes, when things happen, I don't know how perfectly fine I'll feel on Friday. So there's a slight chance, not a big chance, but a slight chance that I might not stream Friday or I might start late. But that's just a heads up. I'm planning to start at the usual time at more or less 10 and go until more or less 1. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's just an outpatient thing. I go in and they probe around. I get to be probed. Yay. And then it's supposed to be done. Okay. I got these little bits, the propeller, spinner, and base, and propeller. These are going to get painted today. And then this tiniest little bit. Where do I keep putting the tweezers? There it is. This is painted red. This is the airspeed indicator. And the propeller on this needs to be painted metallic. There isn't any good way to grip this. But I guess I need to put an alligator clip on it and hope it doesn't scratch. If it does, I'll have to do some touching up. And I hope it doesn't pop off. Okay, if that popped off and went flying, that would be a significant disaster. The little propeller on the front of this spins, it's free spinning. No, I've never seen Thunder the Barbarian. Just describe a little bit about what it is. So it's free spinning, and as the plane moves through the air, it spins either faster or slower, depending on how fast the air is moving past it, and that mechanically runs an airspeed indicator. And that was very commonly used, as the airspeed indicator until things started going too fast to do that, like with jets. But even this is an interesting story. What would be even more interesting is getting the right paint out. There it is. I'm going to do this without my head magnifier. I think I can manage that. I need to clean things up a little bit. Wow. Before I do one thing, before I start on that, I need to have a work surface with which to work. I'll be talking about this tape in a little bit. But now it's just in the way. Okay. So there would be another continent. Would that also be a sky continent? Another continent in the sky plane or the world? And that particular continent would have been more primal like that. So did you run your session? Did you run your session yesterday? I thought you were going to try that, doing like character construction. Usually this stuff goes flying. There it is. Usually the paint goes splurting all over the place. I need a 4th square foot, I think is what I need. Okay, I'm going to, I have way too much paint there. Yeah, I complained about spray paint being wasted. And then I squeeze out the paint from the bottle and end up with 10 times more, 50 times more than I need. Bottle building is mainly paint wasting. It seems like it. Special the modeling paint is actually, it's, compared, you go to the hardware store, and I've done this actually with some of the primer. is they make primers that are formulated to adhere to plastic. Mainly, for painting, like pieces of vinyl. Oh, man, how did I? Seriously, I don't know how I did that. I got the silver paint all over. I mean, it's everywhere. No, I don't know how I managed to do that. Well, you ran 2 sessions. That's pretty ambitious. I got little spots of silver paint on the red, and I'm trying to wipe it off rather than have to retouch it. Eating or not. I'm going to have to put my head magnifier on for this. I was kind of thinking, this is something I could just do without the magnification, but obviously I can't. To see how much damage was done in the process. Well, sounds like they had fun right away. That's cool. It's cool that it worked, that it went well. It's going to end in tears somehow. I just have that feeling that somehow or other this is not going. Something disastrous is going to happen. What I'm afraid of is not just getting this metallic paint all over the red, which I am wanting to not do. Concerned about this thing popping off of the clip and flying somewhere. Porco Rosso's plane would have to operate without an airspeed indicator. That's not a good thing. You need to know your airspeed. That's the problem, is that without these head magnifiers, I couldn't see where the tip of the brush was. And the tip of the brush is further out. It's longer than I thought it was. In the way. The brush being longer than I thought it was. The consequence is that I was putting paint where I didn't. Hand cramp already. Great. This looks pretty good under magnification. A little bit, tiny bit of discoloration where I should put a little drop of red. Okay. No, I'm glad everybody had a good time. Well, the barbarian might be tired. I mean, that very well might be. So maybe not something to worry about, hopefully. Some of this red paint is still. Stuff the whole brush. Use a different brush for this. There's a little spot that needs to be red. It needs to be redded. It's almost invisible, even under magnification. Oh, your dog was barking? Actually, our dog was barking too, but you can't hear it because the microphone screens it out. Yeah, this brush is totally doomed. Well, this is looking okay. Here, in case it pops off, it doesn't go flying somewhere. I don't need these right now. No, I was just talking about getting these parts painted. Yeah, I mean, you can't. If somebody's feeling kind of depressed, sometimes you can't tell the difference between being depressed and tired. They seem to be the same way. Well, okay. There is that, isn't that? I'm surprised everybody wasn't tired. Maybe everybody was. That I get tired and grumpy. Airspeed indicator is finished. I would put that in the done box, but it's so tiny it would get lost. I'm just gonna. This is the tiny part done box. These are primed now. I've got the gun sight done in here. And this is the propeller, and then these are parts. The propeller, this hole, and then this. That. And it all fits. Oh my. Okay. It all fits pretty well. There was a ridge of paint there. I just managed to clean off. So this spinner, the pointy part here, is supposed to be painted 44, which is deck tan, which is this color. And the thing behind it this bit is also painted deck tan. There's always the how do you hold these? I'm going to put this on a toothpick. I don't need quite that big. I'm going to mutter to myself as I'm doing this. Need one of these nice round ones. There we go. I think this will work. So I think I can put it on here. I need to make sure all the edges are painted. So I'm going to, just to make sure, I'm going to paint the edges in the back. You could see that when this was on, no, I can't put it on because the toothpick's on there, that basically just the edge showed. So I'm going to paint a little bit on the inside and most of the back, because the back might show once it's put on. This use sticky tack. Use the sticky tack approach. Oh my. Tack. This is great for classrooms. Took 1,000. Wow. Need like a minuscule bit of this. It'd be enough. This is improvising, holding on to parts while you're painting them. Just stick this in here. It's even twice what I need. Oh, yeah. Ta-da! And there it is. It's stuck on a wad of sticky tack. And hopefully that will hold on well enough for me to get paint around it. And the propeller is pretty easy to handle. The shaft here disappears, so I can just grab it with this. Hi, the engineer. Thanks for joining in. And since you are in first time chat, oh my goodness, it's going to go down with the ship. I'm going to explain what I'm doing here and why. Just take some time before I start putting some paint on these little pieces. Is Dice and Dungeons is all about a Dungeons and Dragons show, not model building, believe it or not. And we run our show most Sundays at 2:00. And this stream got started because, okay. This stream got started because we produce our own minifigs. Like, this is my character early in the show. Olseth Relf, the Furbog fighter, dressed in elven armor. Okay. And our own dungeon tiles and set pieces like firewalls and things like that. And we do them on the 3D printers back here and the rosin printer across the hall. And they get painted. And our DM said, well, if you're going to be painting stuff, you might as well stream the painting. Why not stream the painting of them? And so I have been. Just some examples of our dungeon tiles. I like to show these off like every week or so because they're really cool. We print them back there. They come out black plastic. They look. I'm fumbling around. This is a feature. This is a feature of this stream. Is me knocking things over and fumbling around. Yeah, so we print them there. They look like this when they come off the printer, and then they get primed, spray primed off screen, and then then they're base coated like this, and some detail is painted in. These are pretty cool. They're base coated like. Well, you'll actually be seeing it because somebody used the same color combination on the propeller that is used on this. But they're base coated like a light tan. And then they're washed with a smoky ink, and then the stucco parts are put in. Our dungeon tiles have things like operating doors, or in this case, a cauldron for a fire mage with a sigil built into the wall. And this stream started because these things needed to be painted for the show. And so that's how that happened. And when there aren't any dungeon tiles or minifigs to paint, then I work on a model because why not? I retired years ago and bought like 3 or 4 dozen models that are all sitting around here. So far, I completed 2, almost completed a 3rd, and I'm working on the 4th one. At the rate I go, they take almost a year to get done. It's really kind of absurd. But the cool thing about these is that the way they're made is that underneath here underneath here in the corners are little ball magnets that are inside of pockets, and the dungeon tiles stick to each other. Look at that. And you can take them apart really easily and rearrange them. And you don't need a special surface or anything because they stick to each other, and you don't need clips, which are, hold them pretty well, but they're hard to take apart. And so this is a great feature of our dungeon tiles. I want to keep advertising that in case someday, you never know. The latest innovations are that instead of having a separate plate with pockets underneath and then having the plate put on, we got some new 3D printers, so the printing process can stop partway through. Like you get up to about that far. Okay. It stops, put the magnets in, and then they're sealed inside. So you don't have to worry about the plates breaking off or anything like that. So this is one solid piece with the ball magnets installed inside, and it works the same way. The next innovation, and I don't know if you can see this on this door, is the doors are pin hinged. There's a little pin that goes through the lintel there, through the door into the base. And previously, those had to, put the pin in and the lintel attached as a separate piece later. And then you end up seeing the cement on the top. Our DM Alexis figured out how to print it. It's one piece now. It's just amazing what she's been able to do. So I wanted to show off the dungeon tiles because as a way of explaining why this stream is going on. So when there aren't any of those to paint, I'm working on models, and the one I'm working on now is Porco Rosso Savoia S.21. Thanks for joining in, Enforcer. I'm not a very good model builder or a very good painter. So instead of this being a how-to show, it frequently is a how not to show. With some frequency, it really is. It's what horrible thing can possibly go wrong? What kind of a mess can I get into? There have been several times when I've had to strip the paint off of a piece and start all over because I made a mess of it. Or I tried to fix something, and every time I tried to fix it, it just got worse. It's getting more alligator clips out. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's a comedy or a drama. This stream, sometimes it's definitely comedic in the way it goes. Wow. I made 2 New Year's resolutions. One is there was a word that I kept saying all the time that I said I'm not going to be saying much anymore, and I've done okay with that. And the other is keep your work surface clear. That is something I want to tell anybody who's an aspiring modeler, is that it does help if you don't clutter up your work surface. And let me show you how badly I've been doing. Okay. See all that? That is 70% clutter. I have not been successful in the second part of my New Year's resolutions in terms of keeping my work surface clear. I just set things down and they get in the way, and they really do get in the way. I'm just painting these little bits. These things go on near the end, you can see the whole plane and the instructions is actually built before the propeller part gets attached. And then this little airspeed indicator thing gets put onto the side of the fuselage. I'm doing some of the things out of order because I'm avoiding one thing. I'm avoiding looking at what has happened with my fuselage. And I discovered that my plan for painting the wing was absolutely wrong. There are green, white, and red stripes on the wing, but they're only on the bottom, and I thought they would be on the top and the bottom. And so I prepped it to paint it on the top as well as the bottom, and that turned out to be a bad idea. So at some point, I'm going to get back to the wing and make some decisions about how to deal with that. Right now, I'm going to be painting these two bits this color. I know I'm painting it this color because the color chart says paint them number 44. And the translation of the color chart from its Japanese to another Japanese to English is to use deck tan, which is this color. Pretty straightforward anyway. Oh, great. Yeah. Can't really see the difference between this and the primer. This is the edge. The spinner, the cone part goes over the top of this, and the propeller is stuck in between them. These paints are so much better. I know they still make the same that I used when I was a kid. The only thing that really was available to me were the Testors enamels. Definitely not water-based. And they were almost all gloss colors. Flat colors were special. Nowadays, with this stuff, usually they're flat, and then the glossy paints are the ones that are special. But back then, the enamels were kind of like the default was glossy, or at least that's what I had to work with. As I'm painting this, there's lip of plastic there that shouldn't be there. Really should try to take that off. I think what I'll do is I'll let this dry, and then I couldn't see it until it was painted. There's just, you might be able to see it there. Just a little, if it's in focus, a little blip of plastic that shouldn't be there. I'm going to let this paint dry, And then I'm going to sand that off or file it off and then put a second coat on. That's, in my mind, the safest way to do this without marring the surface too much. So the Savoia S.21 is the plane that was flown by Porco Rosso in the Miyazaki animated feature, Porco Rosso. And it was given to me as a gift by one of the members of our Dyson Dungeons group. Trying to make it look really good. So I'm working slightly above my skill level here, in just not so much the construction of this, but the preparation of the parts and the painting. And so far, it's been okay. If you're wondering what I'm doing, you've got this little spinner thing that stirs up the paint. It's like a miniature version of the thing at a hardware store, you know, where you buy a gallon of paint and they stir it up. Kind of like a miniature version of that. This is the same color we use, you know, the dungeon tiles I showed you a little bit ago, the wooden ones. This is the base coat. And then there's a smoky ink wash. It's called smoky ink. It has a little bit of red in it, and it makes it look like really rich wood. And so this propeller would be like a piece of mahogany. It'll dry, and then it will be washed in that smoky ink wash. It will. I mean, the experience I've had with this combination has really been good. Gives it a really nice color. Especially well if the whole thing is painted. I'm just rotating it to make sure I haven't missed any spots, because that happens. Capable of missing spots. Doing it. Actually, I'm like getting things. It's actually getting more done more quickly than I thought I would. I have this nice wall clock up there that's big enough for me to see without my glasses, and I didn't spring forward, so I have to keep remembering to add one to the time. Okay, those need to dry. I need to fix the spinner bit. Remember, I told you I had a little bit of a piece of plastic that needs to come off. Then I need to look at the propeller and decide whether I want to put a second coat on or not. I might. Yeah, like damage it, like dropping it on the floor and then picking it up and sticking my finger in the wet paint. See, that's what happens. You're absolutely right. Rushing something and just losing focus was nearly a disaster, and might be. Okay, I'm going to go take a break from these bits while paint is drying. You can watch the paint dry. I'm going to go back to the wing. So this tape is coming off because I was getting prepared to paint the stripes on the top and bottoms of the wings, but the stripe is only on the bottom of the wing. It's like, why? I was looking at the decals to make sure I was locating the stripes correctly on the wingtips, and it was the decals. There was just one set of them, and they had these little insets, these little notches, and the notches are designed to go around these bits here, these little raised bits here, which is where the floats, these things attach. Okay. I'm thinking, why only that? And I was, oh no, maybe the stripes are only on one side. And I looked at the box and the box top of the model. There's no stripes on the top of the wing. This is the top. So I was prepared to make stripes go all the way around the wing. And then I said, well, I need to be absolutely sure. And so I looked up images of the Porco Rosso Miyazaki feature. And yeah, the stripes are only on the bottom. So I caught it in time. And when I was that very day going to start painting the stripes. But now, obviously, I'm not. I need to do some re-preparation, not quite repair, but close to it, but re-preparation of these wings. And what that means is this is supposed to be painted a uniform red, right? And there was a white stripe there and a green stripe here, and I wasn't too terribly concerned if the red on the very wingtip, very, very tip of the wing was slightly different than the red in the center. Okay. So I wasn't at all concerned about that. And how did the DM take that? But I think because the red is translucent, I'm going to have to do. There's a couple of things. The red is translucent, and so it will be a different shade here than here. And that I don't want that to happen at all. So it looks like what is this? It's just as well I'm doing this. I need to sand out some little blips. So I think what I'm going to be doing. Yeah. And then the DM will probably be careful in terms of letting you know when they're ready for those forms to happen. I'm gonna try to take no chances here. And what I'm going to do, this probably won't make sense to you, is on the top of the wing. Okay, I'm going to sand this down first of all because there's a little bit of a ridge there. You're saying, what am I doing? I'm sanding this down because there's a little bit of a ridge there where the white paint came up against the primer. I'm just trying to feather that off. Is better part of valor here is I'm going to paint the entire top white, the same white, put a coat of that on, and then I'm going to put reprime it because I found that that's important. And I'm going to reprime it and then paint it red. So hopefully, on the top here, it'll be a uniform color all the way across the top. I'm hoping that is what happens. So there'll be a lot of paint going on here, more than I would like, but I just think it'll work better. The question for me then, I'm going to do this first. I'm going to just paint the whole top of this white and then reprime it. And I think what I'm going to, hand cramps today. I think I might mask the other side of it. I think I might mask the bottom of it, just so it doesn't become a problem with overspray. I mean, I would think that if I laid this flat, the paint wouldn't get all over where I don't want it, but paint has this habit of just going everywhere. It just goes places. And I don't want it in certain places. Just don't. So now that I'm doing this stripe on the bottom, okay, give this a quick once over with the polishing cloth. I'm going to give this whole thing a white coat. I'm just going to put one coat on, and hopefully that and then prime it again, and hopefully that will give it kind of so that this doesn't look different, or if it does, it'll be hardly noticeable. On the bottom, okay, bottom is a different story. What I think I'm going to do is this is white here. So tape off the wingtip, okay, on either side, because those are going to be red. So I want to tape this white and tape it here, paint the green. So I'll have the white and the green stripe, and then tape over those and paint the bottom red. And the major challenge is to get the line nice and clean along the leading and trailing edge of the wing. Going to deal with the top and the bottom of the wing as two separate things, and deal with the top first. At least in terms of prep, I'm going to prep the top, paint it white, and then paint the primer over the white, and then paint the stripes on the bottom, and then mask it, and then do the red painting, kind of in that cycle. think it's better safe than sorry here. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's kind of like picking one or the other, right? Just doing this so that when I paint all the white and the primer on the top of the wing, it doesn't get all over the bottom, which right now is kind of prepped and ready for striping. Which one do you think you would prefer, though, in terms of storytelling? Are you going to go with the blind queen or the summoner? Have you thought about which one you're going to use? The summoner would be easier, would be more intuitive in terms of gameplay, at least initially. Early in the game like this. I'm not doing any red painting on this. What I'm doing is I'm getting the top of it prepared by putting multiple layers of paint over this, so that hopefully the top of the wing, which is a highly visible thing, right? I mean, it's a very highly visible thing, so that the top of the wing is of uniform color. So I'm going to paint it white, okay, to match that. Paint it white and then prime the whole thing. And hopefully that will result in some uniformity. Oh, then I'll play around with striping the bottom. Okay, so paint and primer I got on this. So to kind of recap, I have the airspeed indicator finished, and I'm going to very carefully deposit it in the little container here. That was a careful deposition. Need to make a minifig of that persona, of that transformation. I'm going to go back to these guys now. Remember, this one had a little bit of a problem. There was itsy bitsy bit of plastic that should not have been there. And so I'm going to try to take that off. And then I'll put a second coat on. Just being hyper careful with this as much as I can. I want this model to look good. And so far I'm being successful, except maybe with the fuselage where I dropped it and stuck my finger on it. Okay. I'm going to put a second coat of this on now. And it looks like I need a second coat of the brown. It's not uniform on the propeller before I wash it. And while I'm waiting for this paint to dry again, I say again because it's the second coat, I'm going to attempt to tape the floats as much as I can, given that my hand is cramping up today, which is an unpleasant feeling. I'm still not ready to look at the fuselage. I'm not emotionally prepared to deal with what I might find in terms of repair work that has to be done, where I managed to stick my thumb into the wet paint. Because everything had been going actually, fairly well. Did something incredibly stupid. Probably, I would say it ranked right up there with the top two stupid things I've done since I've been working on models on this stream for the last couple of years. Is I dropped it and picked it up. And fortunately, it didn't take much damage from hitting the floor, but I picked it up in a haste and stuck my finger in the wet paint and put a fingerprint in it. And I tried to sand it out, and I don't think I succeeded. And then I just put more paint on it. I got impatient and probably made a bad situation worse. Oh, I see. Okay. Really? Yeah, I was cleaning the brush off camera and look at that. Huh. It came apart. Well, I'm going to digress here, and because I want to use this brush, I'll use this brush to put the second coat on there. I could use epoxy, but I'm not going to mix it for that. Just going to put just going to stick some contact cement on this and call it good. Oh, the phone has been going nonstop. You can't hear it because the microphone filters out all that, but Let that set for a bit. Contact cement actually likes to just sit like that. Just set like that for, what does it say, like up to 30 minutes? Yeah, you can let it sit for 2 hours before putting the pieces together. They actually recommend letting it sit for 15 minutes. And I've never done that. I've always been too impatient to do that. Oh, yeah. Just remembering what I was going to do. I was going to paint the second coat of not that color, of this color. And when I'm done with this, then I am going to try to tape those floats in a way that will not require too much rework. I don't want to have too much rework later on. Two for modelers is almost any paint, really. Brushing on or spraying on. Multiple thin coats always work better than one big thick coat. You put a thin coat on and it will look kind of scabby. You'll see brush marks and stuff on it. But after the third coat, you get a pretty nice uniform look, and I'll show you that on the floats in just a minute. So in this case, a second coat is good. And when this dries, I'll put the wash on it, and this will still dry. It'll be dry before this stream. That's the one with the black eyes, the Void Queen. That might be, if the game goes on a long time and you get up to like level 22 or something like that, like the Void Queen might be a useful transformation at that point. So you're thinking you're going to do the summoner first? Is that the way you're leading right now? Well, this is getting down to just little bits of stuff that some might have to come out of order in order to get done. So the next several streams, I wouldn't be surprised if what I need to do is like do something else. Maybe I need to go back to the Apollo and finish that, for example, just to keep things moving along, because well, I'll describe what needs to be done in a bit. First, let's reassemble my paintbrush here. There. Let this paint dry. So what needs to be done yet on this model is I need to look at the fuselage. I need to get up my courage probably Friday or next week, or hopefully, and figure out if I need to repair the, excuse me, itchy eyes. If I need to do repair work on the fuselage where I stuck my thumb on it or not. Okay. If it looks okay, Then I'll unmask it and touch up the inside of it. And that won't be a difficult thing to do, but it just depends on how the fuselage looks. So on the fuselage, what you're not going to see, it's just this part here. Once I repair it or decide that it's okay as it is, all right, I need to paint this little rim here. Maybe it shows better somewhere else. Yeah, here. This is the part I'm talking about. This is all it is, but that's attached there. That's where the wing attaches on the top of it. Right around here, that little ring there, that needs to be painted black. Number 33 is black, flat black, because that's the cockpit surround. So it's like leather or something, is what it's supposed to be. And then that'll be done, except for the decal work, which I'll show you on the other side. This whole bit here, this part is done, and this part isn't. I need to finish the green stripe and then the red on the bottom. The horizontal part is done. Okay. It goes together, it just goes together like this, and then attaches to the fuselage. And I've got these little struts that I've also been avoiding, that I need to prepare and prime and paint. Maybe I'll work on those today. I might just do that. Oh, okay. So you might not know which one. So one of the two, and you might decide right at the last moment which one is actually going to happen. There's 4 of these. They're individually numbered. They have to be kept individually labeled the entire time, or else it gets screwed up. So there's just a lot of work left to do on this, but it's little bits of stuff. So I need to finish the tail. This is red now with a white stripe. That part is done. This is white in the center. That's the part that's taped over. This part here is going to be painted green, so that instead of using the decals, I use these boxes, like these boxes. That's a tray that I use for parts I'm working on, and I've got a big stack of the little shipping boxes that are they're a little smaller than one of these sheets of paper and about that thick. And I use that to sort the parts, because then I can close it, and then if they get knocked over or something, they don't get lost. So I've got, and then when I'm finished, like with the Apollo, which came in different sections, each section is in a box. I've got a whole pile of boxes over there full of Apollo finished bits, except for the parts that I haven't finished yet. So yeah, I need, like on this, I need to paint that green and then unmask it, and then mask the entire top and paint the bottom red. And then this, then the tail will be ready to go. And if the fuselage is okay, if I get these little struts done, I'll actually be able to attach all of that. There's a bunch of weird little decals. You can't imagine how tiny those are. They're like the head of a pin. These little white decals that go on the side of the fuselage when it's finished. But this whole thing, actually, I could probably get done. That's one series of things. And then the wing with the floats is another assembly. And as I pointed out, I messed up thinking that the stripe would go all the way around the wing, but just on the bottom. So I'm redoing the wing. And then I'm going to paint it. The white stripe on the bottom is already there. I'm going to paint the green and then mask it off and do all the red painting. These floats, there was a cheat way of doing this. And I have these decals here that could have just been applied where this color is. But I thought, no, I'll paint it. And the painting went like much better than I thought it would. So I think I might have done it in the wrong order, but I need to, these parts, the top needs to be painted red. So I have to mask this off, paint that red, and then retouch the part where the red paint got onto the brown, which will happen. Everything else, once those are done and the wing's done, the thing that's left is the windshield. And this is clear plastic, and it needs to be extremely carefully taped off so that the metal support structure for the windshield can be spray painted. That's something I keep forgetting to do that I need to get around to doing. Between now and Friday, I'm going to paint the green on here. Okay. Paint the green on here. I'm going to paint the top of the wing all white to match this and then reprime it because I want the color to be as uniform as possible across the entire top. And then I have to figure out what steps I'm going to use to paint the green stripe on the bottom. Yeah, so it's coming along. Now I need to do the masking on this. And this will just take, I don't know how it's going to go. I'll see. I've got this special expensive tape. Doesn't look expensive, but it's special because it is supposedly stretchable and can be used to mask curves, of which there are. So I'm going to take some of this. I tried this once before, and it does kind of do a curve, but it didn't adhere as well as the yellow tape that I've been using. And paint leaked. But what I'm expecting to happen is that at least in some areas along here, that the red paint is going to leak onto where the brown is now, and I'll have to sand that off without sanding any of the red and touch it up with the brown. What I'm hoping I can do is get this tape right on the edge, but not over it. Theoretically, that should be possible. There's a really nice sharp edge there that allowed me to actually to paint it right on up to the edge. And if I get the tape right up to the edge, but not over it, then the red paint should go up to the edge, but not over it. I don't want to be doing is having to paint red paint all along the edge because the tape covered it too much. I guess I'm saying I would rather sand off red paint and repaint the brown than go in the opposite direction. Either way, this isn't going to be easy. Where'd my tiny little toy scissors go? Oh, I see. He becomes so emotionally upset that blindness happens. And as a result, then she learns that transformation. Yeah. I mean, that would kind of fit pretty well with the way you're describing her. Don't know how this is going to work. It could be really good, or it could be borderline disaster. I would like to have my little scissors, though. I want to cut off that tiny little bit there. See, if I had followed my advice, which was my New Year's resolution, and kept my work surface clear, if I had done that, then I would have put those little scissors down in the place where I would find them, and I'd be able to just pick them up, and that would be that. But I didn't, and so I can't. I'm succeeding in making my knee hurt, getting it stiff. Seriously, it's just not there. What's supposed to happen here is that you can see the edge, is that the tape is supposed to go right up to the edge, and then the red paint is supposed to go right up to the tape, and it will look beautiful. That's what's supposed to happen. What might happen is either that the tape has gone over the edge, and so the red tape doesn't go far enough, in which case I'll have to decide whether to put red paint up to the brown, or brown paint down to where the red was. I don't know how that's going to go. This is kind of a test right here. A little bit of brown that got onto where the red is supposed to be. If the taping is perfect, which it is not, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should have painted this red to begin with, but I would have had to have masked it anyway. So I didn't get red all over to where the brown was going to be. I guess I'm not any further behind. Because if I painted the red first, I'd be scraping the red off of there just wouldn't be an undercoat of brown to begin with. This tape is going to work. I'm really kind of thinking, okay, go back to the yellow tape. Right, the queen wasn't designed to be helping with this situation yet. So you've got two potential transformations, and which one you will use will depend on really the emotional situation that she finds herself in. That makes a really interesting story arc. It should be kind of fascinating for you to play and for the DM to work through. I'm assuming that the other characters, would not see this coming. Okay, this would not be a thing that they would expect. You were saying that some of them that there's a little bit of a suspicion that she's not entirely human, and that one of the things in the story arc is trying to decide whether to tell her or not. I'm expecting when I'm done spray painting this that you're going to be watching me do a lot of sanding along that edge, because the red paint is going to come up over onto the brown. That I'll be sanding it down so that it doesn't show a ridge, and then very, very carefully reapplying the brown paint. That'll probably that's going to take. You'll get to watch that happen over at least one, maybe two streams when I get around to it. This isn't awful for this, but like I said, I've got this tiny little toy scissors that gives me better control over that kind of thing. So I'm really kind of hoping that the red paint leaks onto the brown and doesn't leave a gap, that this tape is covering the brown but not where the red is going to go. Won't find out until I take the tape off. I mean, really. So yeah, these floats might go on for a while. Oh, okay. So the succubus can say something is different about this, about her. It makes sense. And then the succubus needs to make a decision about who to tell what. Of course, it's a little. It's like an eighth of an inch too small. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Like I said, what I'm prepared for is a good deal of back and forth between the brown and the red touching up before the demarcation line, which looks really nice between the brown and the pink before that's done. So she has an extreme emotion because of the reveal. Is that when you're thinking the transformation would happen? That as a result of the extreme emotion of that event, that's when the transformation might happen, and it might even happen kind of not unwittingly necessarily, but in an unexpected way that she wouldn't expect it. She wouldn't see it coming. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, she's not, I guess technically she's not really pretending because she doesn't know her real situation, but yeah, it ends. I mean, it makes sense that that would be how the transformation would occur. That would be a really dramatic. That's going to be a really dramatic session when that happens. You know, the DM will have to be prepared for it, and the other players should not be prepared for it. Dog is getting all excited about something. One of them. Okay, I'm done taping these. Okay. My plan is to either paint them today or tomorrow. At least that's the plan, hopefully. I imagine, yeah, that your character would be very disturbed. And if there's a transformation that happens kind of unexpectedly because of the raw emotion, that would be pretty dramatic for her as well. So that's going to be a really interesting session to role play. Definitely for you, but for the other players as well, who, you know, theoretically at least don't really know what's happening or why, except maybe the succubus who has suspected the situation. And then goes, that's what that was about. Once that transformation happens, it's my understanding that she'll be able to transform back and forth. I mean, she'll learn how to control it. I mean, once she comes to terms with it, at least, because that could take a bit. Didn't Yeah, that'll have to be one of those things that'll just have to play out when it occurs. You could have a couple of very dramatic episodes going. I just dropped the scissors. Be right back. All this work of very, very carefully taping, right? And for all I know, it will have been an exercise in futility. It's to be seen. Many things to be seen as this thing moves along. You didn't see that. I can't even pick things up without grabbing something else. Just, what can I say? Just old fingers. I got old fingers, and sometimes they just don't work the way they should. All right. Here, I'm just going to use this piece of cardboard here and get this ready for painter's tape. I think this might work better for the purpose. This is tape that's just touching other tape. What I need to do is somehow get this to do that, stand up, so I can spray paint around the edges. This is super high-tech master modeler technique. Getting things to stick on tape in the orientation that they need to be in order to get painted. So I have to spray paint like around the edges. So that'll work. There, these are ready to be painted red. And then I had, there it is, this little miscellaneous tiny bit of this here. And I can use this to hold this while I painted green. Have this tape, hold on to that tape. Spray paint that green, probably 2 coats, flip it over, and paint the other side green, and then unmask it, and then mask the white and the green parts so that I can paint the bottom red, and then this will be done. Okay. So for spray painting, the stuff that will get spray painted and how is these are going to be spray painted red. I'll put 2 coats of red on there. When I unmask it, there will no doubt be all sorts of touching up that'll need to be done along the edges of the brown that was already painted on the bottom and where the red is going. Okay, so this is going to be red unmasked, touching up the boundaries. This is going to be painted green on both sides, and then it will have the nice red and green and white stripes. As I triple check, yes, it's the leading edge that's painted green. The middle is white. The back is red. Yay. Paint that on both sides. So there's 4 sprays, basically. Spray it, wait, second coat, wait, flip it over, spray it, wait, spray it, wait. It takes like 5 hours to get that done, just because it has to dry in between. The wing, which I was about to make a huge disaster of a mess with. Okay, the stripes are only in the bottom of the wing, which means that the top has to be uniform in color. In order to do that, I'm going to spray paint the whole thing white so it's closer to this color, and then put another layer spray of primer over that so that the top of this will be as uniform a red as possible because the red paint is translucent. The painting of red on both the top and the bottom will probably wait until after I get the green stripe painted on the bottom. You know, the white will be in the middle, the red on the tip. I'll paint the green stripe and then tape over the white and the green and then paint the red. Not at the same time as I paint the top because I can't do that. So those are the things to be spray painted when I do that off camera. Here, this little thing is done. Yeah, that sticky tack worked really well. But it doesn't come out really well. There's going to be sticky tack residue on the inside of this, but that's okay. It'll be invisible. Make sure I get it off the parts that might show. It was a very clever idea. Too clever, you might say. So I'm getting plans. I have plans for what I'm going to do. And then at some point, I need to inspect the fuselage to see how much damage is done and what needs to be and what can be done to fix it. The incredibly stupid thing I did when I dropped it. And then the incredibly stupid thing I did after I dropped it when I picked it up. I had multiple stupidities going on there. Well, this covered nicely. The paint looks good on there. To do so, I'm going to put that in the miniature bit done box. And then this is also ready to be put in the miniature bit done box. Cap it up, set it aside, try not to lose it. There were like 5 little bits of blue here, and now there was just one. I wonder where they went, where they're going to end up. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is transform, well, clean this up a little bit. It just keeps ringing. Yeah, it does make sense that the blind, to have a characteristic of the blind queen like that, where she just can't be offensive, not herself. You have some really interesting personality development going on with your characters. I just think it's pretty amazing. It's really cool. Are the other players, have they developed their characters like that too? Are you seeing the same sort of character development going on with theirs? I have to stir these inks up really pretty. Um, mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if she's blind, yeah, she wants to stay away as far as possible. Okay. So it's not so much a character's story and backstory as it is just the interaction with each other. I guess that makes sense. Now with this, what I want to make it kind of it can get gummy. I have to be a little careful with it because I want to make sure it's put on smoothly, evenly, not smoothly necessarily, but evenly. And this kind of dull brown will hopefully look like rich mahogany. To make sure I get the edge, the leading edge, the fat edge there, which I'm not getting. I don't want it too dark. What might look like brush marks, I can pass off as being grain in the wood. I think the spinner covers the very center of that. Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. I know everything kind of orangish, like the red is orange, and this looks less. For some reason, this camera doesn't pick up red very well. Sure how much of this center part is covered, so I'm going to be just touching up there. I'll see how that looks. But I think it came out. I think it came out pretty well. It's a really nice wood color. It looks good. I'm going to just set that in here and clean the brush. Now, I just want to remind everybody Uh-huh. Well, I imagine, yeah, the fairy influencer. I imagine, well, yeah, the Viking is just a Viking, right? But the fairy influencer, I'm sure, was an unexpected, just a huge, unexpected, wow, burst of energy. Huh. I imagine meeting up with them was it was pretty shocking. And of course, probably the Viking and fairy influencer probably got really loud. Did they go to the tavern together and get boisterous? Do you have any idea what the DM has in mind for your next session? I know you've had some thrown into combat right away. You're going to have a quiet session or another set of excitement. Oh, okay. Or kind of like character introduction and development. That's pretty good. I got about a half hour left. I might end a little early. Take some time to clean up. I now have a very nicely painted um, alligator clip. All right. Yeah, recap. Let me move this tray over. This is getting close to being done. Closer all the time. I'm going to be painting the green stripe on the vertical stabilizer. And then after that, masking off the white and the green and painting the base red so that it matches up with the horizontal stabilizer. Hopefully there won't be too terribly much going back and forth with touching up. That is a thing to be seen. Okay. The error I made on the wing, which I will rectify by putting multiple coats of paint on it, is so that the wingtip and the center do not look different, or hopefully not very much different. Because I'm going to paint this all white and then spray paint with primer again. And this, well, the top wing, the top of the wing will be all white. I mean, red. Duh. It'll be white and then it'll be red. The bottom here, you can see it's lighter color. There's a white stripe here, red, white, and green. I've decided the way I'm going to deal with this now is I'm going to paint the green on, okay, and then mask the white and the green and paint the red tip and the rest of that as a secondary kind of thing. I haven't yet decided. I guess I'm going to paint the bottom of the wing first and then mask over it like this. But or what I could do is I could just paint the top red, get the red done, and then paint the bottom. No, I want to paint the green stripe first. I can scrape the green off the red if I need to. Just be really careful taping those areas. There isn't much to tape then. And then it'll be more uniform in terms of red on the leading edge of the wing, which is important. So yeah, to fix this, because I was planning to do the stripe on the top and the bottom both, and that was a mistake, is prep this so that the top is uniformly red or very close to it. Oh, okay. So she can, okay, fix the door. That's an interesting thought. Since I'm at it, I might as well clean this. Some clean water here. Some, because I've been handling it a lot. All right. So that's just prepping this, getting it all primed again, and then doing the green stripe on the bottom. These guys need to be painted red. Then there will be a good deal of touching up, I expect, between the red and the brown along the bottoms of the floats until I get the lines back again. This gets painted green, gets unmasked, gets remasked, gets painted red, then the tail sections will be pretty much done. And what I've got left is dealing with the fuselage that I've been avoiding, the preparation of the windscreen, which I will need to do be a very, very thorough job of masking, because if that gets messed up, it's really hard to fix. And then the part that I keep forgetting that I can't forget are these little wing struts that I could probably work on those if I'm not too afraid of losing them. I might just I might spend the last half hour doing that. Maybe that's the best use of my time. They're kind of the last pieces that need to come off of the sprue. Oh, okay. That would be kind of a fun thing to do. Let's fix a door. Those are the little parts there. Those little parts are a pain. They're attached to the sprue. The sprue needs to be carefully sanded off. It's got flashing all around the outside of them where the mold didn't fit. So these parts are not only tiny, and they all have to be very, very carefully labeled and kept separate from each other because none of them fit in the same place. They're not interchangeable. Um, but they're badly molded. And so, great. Things over. So they're all going to require some significant work. I'm just going to use the cheap tape. Each one, as it comes off, is going to be taped down to this piece of cardboard. While it's worked on. I'm not going to use this when I'm painting it. I'm just going to use it to hold them. Yeah, I did see Hellboy too. Mm-hmm. Nine, 10, 11, and 12. Oh, okay. I did this once before with parts where I very carefully numbered them like this. And then I did it a couple of times and got it wrong a couple of times. The first time I got it wrong as I numbered them, and then I painted it and painted over the numbers so I couldn't see which ones they were. And another one is I very, very carefully kept track of which numbers were which, except at the very end when I was assembling it, and I took them all off and lost track. This is number 9. This one's almost broken off. That would be bad. Hopefully, it will stay stuck. These are going to be so hard to work with. I'll show you what I'm dealing with here. Is as I take these off, you can start to see that the sprue kind of wraps around the strut, so it's not just on the edge of it, but like some of the others, it goes into it. And then the seam where the two parts of the mold came together leave a ridge around the entire part. Nine, 10, 11. Dogs are just... I know you can't hear it. I've said this over and over. You can't hear when the dogs are barking, but one of them is just losing it up there. I'm going to have to, at some point relatively soon, go up, see what's going on. I'm not going to mess around with trying to clean these parts up today. It's just too delicate, and I don't want to have them go flying all over the place, which they would do almost certainly. But I have them off the sprue. Oh, that's a good way of describing it. Is that what she's doing? Is she's bringing the parts together with her strings, and then they fit, and it looks like the door is, yeah, like you said, is growing back. I like that as a mechanism for repair, because it looks like it's healing, like the parts are kind of healing. Okay, so between now and the time that I carefully assembled these using tweezers, the instructions make that very clear that they're supposed to be put on underneath here for no apparent reason. I don't know why, because it's there in the cartoon, so they put them in the model. That they need to be attached with tweezers, no doubt. Between now and then, I need to make sure that they stay numbered. So I'll be cleaning up one at a time and putting it down. After it's cleaned up, I'm going to use the good tape, because these need to be spray painted the red. And during that entire process, I need to keep the numbers clear. Okay. So I did this thing. All these parts, these little pieces of cardboard and stuff, along with the paint, are coming up with me. I need the red paint the white paint, the green paint, and the primer. No, I need all the paint. I need all the paint to come up with me to be used maybe today or tomorrow, maybe not. Oh, thank you for the new follow. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. The propeller is done. I think it came out. I think it looks okay. It looks like good, rich mahogany wood. I'm going to put this in the box of micro parts along with the spinner and the airspeed indicator and the gun sight. Cap it up and hopefully not lose it. Throw these over there. I don't need this. I'm not going to need that for the spray painting this time around because everything is attached to cardboard or is just going to lay flat. I want to thank everybody for watching today, either now with chat. Thanks, Alan, for keeping us up to date on how you're going with your character development. It sounds really fascinating. I have made a moderate mess of the workbench. It's not the messiest it's ever been, but it's pretty bad. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dice and Dungeons again. We are a group of family and friends who put on a Dungeons and Dragons show. And Dice and Dungeons is not about this, even though, that's what today is, and Mondays and Fridays. It's about the Dungeons and Dragons show, which is a really, really good show. Our DM has created an amazing world in which we play, and our characters are a lot of fun for us to play and to watch. It's a really show. It's not just watching us play a game. We put on a D&D show. Our DM is an amazing voice actress, comes up with these creative NPCs and voices them and acts them. It's exhausting for her, I can tell, but it works extremely well. So that is with the live chat on Twitch on most Sundays. I think we skipped last Sunday, but we'll be streaming this coming Sunday. It's 2:00 Eastern Daylight Time. But all of them are posted on YouTube, and you can get them also as a podcast. You can listen to them because they're, you don't get to see our dungeon tiles in action if you do a podcast, but you get to listen to the monologues and the dialogues. So yeah, watch the show. And this stream started because we produce our own dungeon tiles and minifigs on the 3D printers back there and the rosin printer over there. And I paint them. I've got 4 of them that are really cool over there, and I would pick them up and move them, but I would no doubt drop them along the way and break their weapons. So maybe I'll do that some other time just to show you the kind of thing that's done. But this stream started as dungeon tiles and minifigs, and when there weren't any, I was building models. I got a Renwall submarine done. It's over there. I keep threatening that I will show it off sometime and never do. I am almost finished with an Apollo stack, which has the 2 parts of the lunar module, the escape tower, the command module, and the service module, some of which opens up to show detail inside, which is pretty cool. I'm almost done with it, except for the command module, which was waiting for coming up with sticker decals for the control panels. And I've started this instead of finishing that. This is getting to this weird point where I might just have like a half hour of something I can do on the stream, and then I need to do something else just because I'm down to little bits. Now, granted, getting these tiny little struts cleaned up, getting the sprues off and the flashing off could very well take more than an hour and a half. Believe it or not, these 4 little bits, cleaning them up by filing and sanding them will probably take up half of a stream, either Friday or next week, depending on when I get around to that part. Touching these up once they're spray painted and the oversprayed and the masking doesn't work and I go back and forth, also, but at some point it's just going to be the only thing I can do today is mask the green stripe so that it can be painted later. I need to get the stickers for the control panel done so I can go back to the Apollo and actually finish the Apollo. Then I'd have two completed things done instead of, you know how it is, you find a garage car and you always see these ads, 95% restored, because somebody gets old and they can't work on it anymore. They lose interest or something, and it's the last 5%. Yeah, it's been kind of like that. I did finish the submarine. That actually did happen. That actually was a finished thing. And I will finish the Apollo. And at some point, this will be done. Both the Apollo and this should be done yet this summer, I'm hoping. And then moving on to another model, unless there's a big splurge of dungeon tiles or minifigs that need to be done. That might happen. But in the absence of that, it might be time to move on to something else. And I'll probably have like a choice of 3 or 4 and then narrow it down to one with input from some people who are kind of watching. I'm looking at either another vintage model, which is a repro of one I built when I was a kid, which is the Lotus Ford that won the Indianapolis 500, I think back in 1965. I might do that. I got a reissue of it. I built the original when it was original. I've got this weird thing. It's the USS Enterprise original series model of the command deck, which might be kind of a weird and fun thing to do. And I've got really tempted to try this. It'll probably take the better part of 7 years if I have that long. This is one of the very first, when I retired and I was going to build models. Okay. And I bought models but never built them. I bought this. This is they call it the America's Cup yacht racing. And there's the cup. They didn't call it the America's Cup because United States of America, won the first one. It's because the one that won it was named America. Okay. And this is strings and wood and brass. I mean, I bought this because I wanted to be challenged, and it's a really, really cool ship. But look at that. All this rigging, somehow tying little knots. It's got little pulleys, sails with stringers on them. I'm really almost, and it's all stick built. It's all planked. Okay, the hull is planked, the deck is planked. Different stains and paints. It's just copper bottom. I mean, I might decide to do this. I'm kind of leaning toward the Ford because it's a relatively simple model. I'm kind of leaning toward doing that next. I can actually think about, this is getting close enough to being 95% done that I can begin thinking about what's going to be next. I'm kind of leaning toward the Ford. And then tackling the America next. I've also got some other really cool models. I mean, like I've got an SR-71, 1/48 scale. It's huge, right? I've got World War II fighters, and I've got this B-29. It's a really unusual B-29 model in that it is like the submarine as a cutaway, or like the Savoia, where you can lift off the fuselage and see the interior detail. The B-29 model, I don't even remember how I found it. I found it on eBay. is a cutaway model, so you can see it's not this B29, which is big, but the interior is shown as well. I think the 4 finalists, no, they're not finalists, the 4 models from which I would choose next, making the bold assumption that I'm actually going to finish this and the Apollo sometime yet before fall, is the Lotus Ford that won 65 Indianapolis 500, the Star Trek original series command deck, the America. I said there were 4. Oh, and the B29 cutaway. Yeah, those 4. Those are the ones that'll be the from which we will be choosing at some point. Okay. Dyson Dungeons and Dragons show. Watch the Dungeons and Dragons show. Become a follower, become a YouTube, what are they called? Subscribers. Go to patreon.com/Dyson Dungeons, become a patron. Get our DM notes and see our improv warm-ups. Warm-ups, yeah, I should call it that. Warm-ups. And lately we've been playing around with AI and giving it prompts and then ridiculing its production. What will happen, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, is I do have an outpatient medical procedure tomorrow. And they said, well, you come in and it'll get done. You'll be just fine. I don't know how I'm going to be feeling afterwards. There is a slight chance that I will not be streaming Friday, or if I do, it might be like an abbreviated one. I'm going to do everything I can to at least get it started. Okay, so that it kind of started. But depending on how I feel, we'll just have to see how it goes. Between now and then, what I hope to accomplish is spray these red, and then they can be unmasked and touched up. Spray this little bit green on both sides. Unmask that, remask it, paint it red, and get the top of the wing re-prepared by painting it white and then prime it again so that it can all be painted red, because I made a huge mistake when I was planning to paint the stripes on this, thinking that the stripe went across the top, when in fact it's very clear from the box top, and that you can see here the images from the Miyazaki feature, that the striping is only on the bottom. So I need to fix that mistake. And then there's little decals that go on that I need to play around with. There's just a lot of little finishing stuff near the end. It's like the little chrome bits that you look for 3 years, and you finally find a little chrome bit that you stick on the hood of your car, and you can say, oh, it's done finally. Yeah, babbling. So that's it. I'm going to be continuing to working on this little bits at a time. It's gradually getting finished. I've got some little parts that are done. I've got some bigger parts in the done box. At some point, I will take a look at the fuselage and decide whether repair work needs to be done and if it can be done or not. I had these other distractions, and just keep plugging away. So thanks, everybody. Thank you for the new follow. I really appreciate it. Tell everybody you know. Tell people who are total strangers. Tell your enemies that Dyson Dungeons is really, really cool, and you need to check out our D&D show and this painting stream. I hope to be back on Friday at the regular time. That's what I'm planning on. And I look forward to chatting with some of you and making some slow but mostly steady progress on the Savoia. Thanks again. Take care. See you then. Bye.